All right, ladies and gentlemen, so let's get into the conversation about mass gain, muscle size building, and the most effective way to do this, or the most effective ways to do this. Because there isn't just one approach that just works and you don't need to do anything else. You will need to switch gears and go from strategy to strategy, right? Technique to technique. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you 3 main ways to do this that, in my experience, I have seen to be the most effective, right? So, technique number 1, strategy number 1 will be strength training. Now, as you get stronger, I think they laughing. As you get stronger, right, you will build muscle mass because that is the adaptation that your body makes in order to accommodate that lifestyle, right? So bigger, thicker, stronger muscle leads to strength gain, right? The ability to lift heavier loads, right? You got a bigger, thicker muscle to do it. So an example of this would be, let's say 5x5, right? Now, let's say you take 4 to 6 weeks and you do 5 sets of 5, but week to week the weight increases, right? So week 1 may be at a certain weight. Week 2 you add 10, 20, 30 pounds, whatever the case is. Week 3 you add more weight. Week 4 you add more weight, etc., right? And then the last week would be a deload week where you give your body a break, or maybe you give your body a break, a deload week in the middle of the program, whatever you want to do. But the weight progresses, it increases week to week, right? So that's a great way to do that. Now, another way to do that is, rather than increasing the weight, you can increase the amount of the amount of sets that you do, right? So this can be, you take a given weight and you start off week 1 with 4 sets of 8. Then the next week you add a set, which would be 5 sets of 8. Then after that you add another the next week, right? So then you're doing 6 sets of 8, and etc., right? And you do that for 4 to 6 weeks, whatever the case is. Of course, take your deload week, give your body a break, right? And then reassess at the end of the week, etc., right? Take your measurements. I always tell people, take your measurements so you can see that what you're doing is actually working, right? Just don't kind of go on the scale or how your clothes vaguely fits. Take measurements, get the specifics of your results, right? And so the idea here is you're basically increasing your training volume by increasing the amount of sets that you do, right? So this is more of a muscular endurance kind of training, where rather than just be at the 5x5, you're now doing way more reps, right? So you're getting more blood into the muscle, you're creating a metabolic response, and you're also getting stronger within that rep range of doing 8 reps, right? So it's just a different approach, slightly modified, right? And this works very well also, and it's very common amongst power lifters and power builders, right? And power building is a hybrid between power lifting and bodybuilding, right? Now, the third approach, this works very well with, let's say, body weight training, or those of you who are new to training and you want to increase muscular endurance and size and all that type of stuff as well, but you're not really so much geared towards the heavy weightlifting and the powerlifting. You don't want to start there, right? So now, the third way is going to be more of a metabolic response in the muscle, right? This is closely associated with soreness, right? Delayed onset muscle soreness, right? This is commonly associated with lactic acid buildup in the muscle, etc. So the idea here is you target a specific amount of reps on a given exercise. So let's say push-ups, right? You target 100 push-ups every week, or every time you do those push-ups, right? And you do as many reps as you can in each set until you get to that 100 reps. So let's say week 1, it took you 5 sets to get to 100 reps, right? You're just pushing it out as many reps as you can until you literally just couldn't pick yourself up off the floor, right? And then you give yourself 30 to 60 seconds rest, and you do more. You do that all the way till you get to that 100 reps. Now, maybe the next week, instead of it taking you 5 sets to reach 100 push-ups, maybe it takes you 4 sets. You're able to get it done in 4 sets, right? On the next week. And then the third week, you get it done in 3 sets, right? Reaching that 100 reps there. So that's a great way to do that. And so you're not increasing the amount of sets you're doing, you're actually decreasing the amount of sets you're doing, but increasing the amount of reps you're doing at a given time. You see how that works? And so as you get stronger and as you develop more muscular endurance in that muscle, you'll be able to do more reps in a given set. You see how that works? So there's these three approaches, right? One is you're able to lift more weight. Two is you're able to do more sets. Three is you're able to do more reps within a given set, right? And so what happens is, the brilliance behind this is the fact that, understand, you cannot do one approach forever. You will need to switch. So if you're going to take the strength training approach, you will plateau because there's only but so much weight that you can add to the bar in a given year, right? Or in a given month. There's only but so far you can go until you just start failing reps. And when you fail reps and you hit the bottom of that squat and you try to get back out and you can't, and you have to bail on the bar, or you're deadlifting and it pops out of your hand, or you can't even complete the rep, then you know you need to scale it back, right? Or if your body's just feeling terrible, you're not really gaining size anymore. In the beginning you were, and now it's starting to slow down, then you know it's time to change. It's time to switch gears, right? You want to go and hop onto a different strategy before you plateau and even lose muscle in the process, because you can overstress the body, right? You're beating it to death. So you switch gears to the volume training, where you're increasing sets, you're bringing the weight down. So this gives you a little bit of a recovery from the strength training, right? It gives your joints a bit of a break, and you switch gears to a different stimulus. Now, of course, this approach will work, but only for so long. Maybe it works for 2 months, 3 months, or whatever the case is, maybe even 4 months, and then you're just not really seeing the kind of return. So then it's time to switch gears onto the volume training, where you're attacking a specific amount of sets, right? So you switch from stimulus to stimulus before you plateau and get frustrated, before the results start to slow down. That's why it's very important where you set a program, right? Within that program, you have specific parameters and specific goals. Okay, and that program lasts for a specific time, right? 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, even 12 weeks. It's up to you, right? How you set the program up. But make sure that at the end of that program, you take your measurements, because you want to know exactly how much progress you're making, right? So you want to take your measurements. You want to get your body fat checked. You want to step on the scale, right? Get your numbers, get your new baseline numbers, because you're going to need these numbers to track your progress. All right, and so that's when you know if it's starting to slow down, switch gears. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about here is you can also combine approaches. So you can combine, let's say, techniques from both ends of the spectrum. You can combine the heavy lifting with the rep training. So let's say you get all your heavy lifting out the way first, and then you get all your reps out the way last as an accessory exercise. So this would be a great example of heavy bench and then push-ups, right? As many reps as you can. That's a great way to do that. You can also do the heavy lifting and then the volume training. That may make your workout a bit long, but it is an approach you can take, right? Depending on how you do it. Okay, so you can mix different approaches together. Just make sure that you're tracking your progress, and once that progress starts to slow down, you switch gears. Then there's exercise variation, but I would get into exercise variation in another video, because that's a whole nother topic on its own. But having said that, this pretty much wraps that up. I hope this helps you. I hope this gets you to take a second look at your program and really think the way you approach your training.